Hello, and welcome to another Save Your Sanity bonus live stream. I'm Dr. Rhoberta Shaler, and today we're going to be talking with Dr. Deborah Miller. We're going to be talking about emotional freedom technique. You may know it as tapping. We're going to talk about trauma and life and having the best life possible and loving yourself and a whole lot of things that every single person could relate to. So welcome to the bonus live stream, Deborah.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Rhoberta.
Yeah, it's fun. Deborah is speaking with us from Mexico, where she lives. So she is. We're having an international call today,
Yes,
and
we
maybe
are.
you're somewhere far in the world too. So make sure that you are aware that you can ask your questions or make your comments, and we will see them during this live broadcast. We'd love to have you interact with us. If you have questions about it, just type them to us, and when there's a moment, we will respond.
Mhm.
So, Deborah, tell everybody about you a little. You're going to be my guest on Save Your Sanity podcast in a few weeks, but tell everybody who you are and what you're excited about in the world.
I'm excited about all these opportunities that are here, even though it feels very crisis based. But I love the fact that we have these opportunities to change, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. My background is, I'm basically a farm girl from North Dakota, and got way into the science. So I have my doctorate in cell and molecular biology, but I've always wanted to work on the emotional end of things. And then, so what I'm doing is techniques like Reiki, EFT tapping. I do some coaching and things like that to really help us look at things from the scientific side, as well as the emotional side, as well as the practical side, right? And so I combine all those things so that our thoughts and feelings have an effect on our physiology, right?
Well, they do, for sure they do, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. So, as you can see, these things that we're going to talk about are pertinent to all aspects of life. And these are important things. And as I had on the screen a moment ago, you can find Deborah at deborahmiller.org, and Miller is spelled with an E-R. And Deborah has an H in her name. So have a look at that, deborahmiller.org. And if you want to find me at any time, you can always find me at forrelationshiphelp.com. forrelationshiphelp.com. And if you want to catch the upcoming episode with Deborah on Save Your Sanity, you can go to saveyoursanitypodcast.com. Really simple, or download episodes from wherever you like to get your podcast, because everyone seems to have a favorite. So I want to ask a question, which I think is something that maybe people don't realize. We have a part in our brain that is very important to us. And let's just start by talking about the amygdala and how that matters, why that matters. What is it doing? How does it regulate things?
Well, I think of the amygdala basically as our alert system. It's the one that says, pay attention, warning, don't walk off the cliff. I mean, it's a really practical part of our brain, and it's very necessary. And what it's basically doing then is sending a message from the amygdala, this alert center, into the rest of your brain so that your body reacts immediately. So does it need to fight? Does it need to run? Does it need to hide? And then it turns your body on, turns the hormones and chemistry on in your body to be able to run, fight, and hide. And so that's why it's really important. It's an old survival technique that is in our body and in our brain. So it's very useful. The problem with this right now, though, is that the alert system used to turn on and then turn off really quickly. And now we've got the alert system on, and it's on. So what happens? Our body creates those hormones that cause stress in our body, cause inflammation in our body. And long-term, that's not healthy for us.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I wanted to have you share with people what that's all about, because we are living in a difficult time right now.
Yes.
And people don't realize that they have an an accelerated underlying anxiety that, watching television, not being able to go and do what you want, not having the comfort of visiting with friends, not being able to just wander off when you want to and go and have a lovely lunch in your favorite restaurant, or being in a situation where you feel trapped. You may not so dire as feeling trapped, but you just feel like, I can't do anything, I can't go anything, I am being limited. And it raises our general anxiety. So it's important for us to know that this piece of the brain that notices what's going on and says, hey, traffic cop here, is on high alert right now.
Right.
And so, if you find yourself arguing with your spouse, or if the children are becoming bored and you're becoming agitated, know that everybody is accelerated right now, aren't they?
Yeah, most people are. The wonderful thing is that knowing this information, then you can do something about it. You don't have to stay in high alert, but you have to be aware and observe that you've gone into high alert, right? And so then you go, wait, do I want to stay in panic? Do I want to stay in fear? This is not helping my body stay healthy, right? Because you're in fight and flight, or you're in repair and regeneration. Right now, we want more repair and regeneration because it keeps us healthy. So recognizing like, oh, I'm in stress, well, then learn tools. Learn tools that very quickly, very easily lower your stress hormones. Tell the alert to go, wait, you're in your house, you're actually okay, right? You can, there may be some things stressing you, but you're alive, and you can keep living. So then you can take that information and use tools to calm yourself, and it actually turns on the restorative hormones in your body, which actually the first one is called IgG, which is the one that your body naturally uses every day to fight viruses and bacteria. Isn't that great?
That would be good to turn that one on for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm going to put it in a different context, maybe to help everybody understand. But, I think back, I had a client a long time ago, and you can tell it's a long time ago because she had a house that had a shag carpet that she had to rake in order to make it all look beautiful. And she would say, she said to me, she said, I work so hard to keep the house in perfect condition, and I get the shag carpet all raked just so, and my house is beautiful. And then my kids come home, and you can see their footprints in the carpet, and they throw their stuff around. And from that moment on, I am just in anxiety.
Right.
And what you're talking about, and the word that I would put into the conversation to help us understand it is reframe. Like,
absolutely.
And what I did with her was I got her to reframe it. I said, all right, you do this beautiful job on your shag carpet. When the children come home and you can see the footprints in the shag carpet, try thinking this: oh, isn't that lovely? People I love are home.
Yes.
And she said, yeah, but my carpet. I said, no, not your carpet. The footprints are the footprints of the children that you love. So what I hear you talking about is, okay, let's all get on board. Yes, we're living in trying times. Yes, there are certain things that put our shoulders up around our earlobes too frequently. Let's be aware that's the case. And then let's take ourselves to another place. Let's be calm. Let's say, okay, as you said, I am safe at home. Not everybody is, but perhaps you are. And I am safe at home. I do have what I need. Maybe not everything I want, but I do have what I need. Remind yourself that there's no need for the high anxiety, right?
Absolutely. That's one of the things. And we've been.
Oh, well, we lost Deborah, but it's really important. I'm sure she'll be back. It's really important for us to recognize how much power we have over our own emotional state. And when you realize that, and you realize you're in anxiety, instead of staying there, start looking at your breath. Can you slow your breathing down some? Can you take charge and move into a better place of just saying, I can relax further into my chair. I can be supported by this couch. I can lie on my bed and I know the bed will hold me up, so I can let go of all my muscles. I can just allow myself to be supported by this bed. Sometimes having techniques like that will make all the difference in the world. And we can do that for ourselves. You can do that for yourself. And it's important for you to know that you have that power, and and do it very, very thoughtfully, and come back in refreshed. I'm just telling Deborah how to join us again. And you can come back refreshed because you had the power to do something that would help you move forward. So, Deborah, while you were taking your little vacation there, I was describing to people that they can use their breath in order to calm themselves, that they can lie down or be on a sofa or a chair, and they can give themselves over to the bed or to knowing that they're totally supported, and they can let themselves go and remind themselves that they are taken care of. And these are some ways that we have of knowing we can take care of ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. I find just breathing more deeply, and maybe you said that when somehow I disappeared. I don't know why. But, and that's the first thing I do. Because when you're breathing in a very shallow way, you're also in stress hormones. And when you're breathing deeply, you're starting to bring those hormones online that help you relax and calm. Your heart rate lowers, your immune system gets better just by breathing more deeply. So this awareness is a very important part of it. And yes, when you're in your house and you want to go out, we're not used to it. So it brings up this anxiety. But then we can also reframe, as Rhoberta was saying. We can do some deep breathing. We can do techniques like tapping to just bring ourselves back into the calm. And then look for what the blessings are, because everything's an opportunity, right? If we weren't at home right now looking at these things, then we could be distracting ourselves. But now it gives an opportunity to look at all those beliefs we don't like about ourselves. We can release them, we can heal them, we can come back into really learning to love ourselves, because this is what it's about. We want everybody else to love us, right? But then how many times do we look in the mirror and we go, oh, yeah, right? Any comment from hair, face, body, we're really self-critical. And so this is also an opportunity to really start looking at yourself and it's like, reframe about yourself. What do you like about yourself? What do you love about yourself? And then the things you don't like, you can write a list. What are the things that you say to yourself every day? And what are the feelings that come up every day? And then what are the behaviors you have? And then you can use techniques like tapping, which actually helps you rewrite those circuits within your subconscious. And when they're rewritten, right? Well, rewriting is part of practice, Israel. This is why I talk about people as a persistence. We do things 2 or 3 times and we think it should be all done and taken care of, but we didn't create these patterns overnight. We created it starting when we were children, and then we've been reinforcing those neural connections. And so every time we also observe them and let them go, we're breaking those old patterns and creating a new subset where we can really truly love ourselves. And so I look at that as one of the biggest blessings, because I have the time in the middle of this to stop and not be distracted by outside things and go, who am I? What do I like? What do I not like? And then make choices and make changes and use techniques that create those changes, and they become permanent changes.
Well, yes, and I think we should talk a little bit more about doing something once or twice does not a habit make, and it doesn't a habit break
No,
either. And
no.
so it's important for us to give ourselves time to be kind and generous and gentle with
Yes,
ourselves, to say, okay, I'm not doing that as well as I'd like to, or I'm not remembering to stay in that mindset. But every time I'll pick myself up and face myself
yes.
forward and say, no, this is the direction we're going. So you brought up the term tapping, and I think it's important for us to talk about this. Another
Sure.
name for tapping, the original name is emotional freedom technique. So tell everybody what that is.
Okay. It's a very simple technique. And basically, what you're doing is you're communicating with that amygdala, that alert center. And you're doing it by tapping on specific meridian endpoints. So one of them is on the side of the hand. It's better to see it there. Other ones are here at the eyebrow, the side of the eye. You're tapping under the eye, under the nose, under the lips, on the collarbone, and under the arm. And by tapping on those points in ways that we don't understand 100%, but the research is showing amazing things. By tapping in those points and having a dialogue about what the emotions are that you have, right? So let's say you're really anxious and stressed, and your kids or your husband or the dog is really just bothering you. Then you can tap on these points, and as you are, the emotion is there. So you've activated the pattern in your subconscious, and so it's activated. And as you're tapping on these points, what's happening is you're talking to the amygdala, and it's basically telling it to calm down. And so as the amygdala calms down, those stress hormones reduce in your body, and the positive hormones increase. So, the research is showing that even doing tapping for just a short period of time may lower your cortisol levels by 47%.
Well,
Now,
what's a
that
short period of time?
short period of time, I'm trying to remember the exact number because I like to give exact numbers and I don't have it quite in my mind. I think it was like, I think they did like under an hour. Okay.
Mm.
Right. So if you can basically almost by half reduce your cortisol levels, cortisol causes inflammation in your body, and we know inflammation is not healthy for us. That's fabulous. So imagine, you don't have to sit there and do it in an hour. The amazing thing is what I call a round is where you start and go through all the points once. That's a round. If you do 3 rounds, you're already lowering the stress hormones because you might start yawning. You might start feeling more relaxed. So your muscles start to calm, etc. Your breathing slows down. Maybe you've not got 47%, but maybe you're 10% or 20% lower stress hormones in your body. You're already in a better place. So you could do that. You can tap for 5-10 minutes and you're already improving your health. And if you do that a couple times a day, you're actually creating a benefit because you are reframing, because in the moment of the anxiety and the stress, you are having a conversation with your body to lower the stress hormones, which pulls you out of the program that you have, the automatic program of anxiety, we'll say, and then you're reframing. You're creating a new pattern of being calm. And so this is a really good thing to do, and it's very simple to do. I love simple, practical techniques because we don't need complicated. Our lives are pretty complicated the way they are. So let's make it simple. Let's make it fun. Let's make it easy. Okay.
All right. So how long would it take to do 3 rounds?
3 rounds takes maybe under 5 minutes, maybe 3. Yeah.
Well, that's very doable. Now we're at a short period of time.
Now we're at a short period of time, right? So this is fantastic because most people say, I don't have time, right? You're not going to dedicate an hour. Okay, if you have a private session with someone, you're going to dedicate to a topic and you're going to look at something more deeply. But in midst of stress, these techniques are things you can do at home, right? And so all you want to keep doing is cutting the circuit, breaking the circuit, breaking the habit of how you always think and how you always feel and how you always react and what you always say, right? And how you always behave, right? And so this is a great way. Do 3 rounds, like 3 minutes. Okay.
Yes, when you use the words always, at that
Yeah,
moment, my alert goes off, and it's not
exactly.
my amygdala. It is like, all right, if you've gotten into any habits of saying
Yes.
always or never or things like that, notice that that would be something worth having a look at.
Absolutely.
Because if you get stuck in those patterns that Deborah is talking about, if you get stuck in those patterns that I talk about, which is all or nothing thinking,
Yes.
always, never, 1 minute of well, of course, I talk about toxic people and hijackals.
Right.
So, a hijackal will always involve, and I mean that to use that word, always be erring on the side of all or nothing thinking, which is at one moment they love you more than anything, and the next moment you looked at them sideways and you are the scum of the earth, and
Right.
there's nowhere in between. And we tend to polarize the ways we think about ourselves, the ways we think about our past, the way we think about what's possible in our lives. So if we catch ourselves even using words like always and never, really good trigger to say, is that really true? Is it really that frequently or that infrequently? Maybe I could just start looking at life a little more gray, not quite so black and white in the option department.
Exactly.
There's all of these possibilities. So when you hear Deborah talk about emotional freedom technique or tapping, and you say, oh, well, that's a lot. 3 minutes is not a lot. You could start, you could do a little something. So aside from the amygdala, what do we know about why it works and how it works? You were talking about the research
Right.
not being totally clear.
No, the research is actually pretty clear. The method of how it goes in and works is not 100% clear, but the results are clear. They've used EFT for vets coming back with PTSD, sports test exams, traumas, abuse, et cetera, cravings for food. So there's research studies and all these. There's I think around 100 peer-reviewed research articles showing these statistics of how EFT is lowering the stress hormones in your body. And what's happening is they're now getting into the research where they're actually finding that gene modification, or what genes are turned on, is also being modified by doing tapping in a beneficial way, right? So let's say you're turning on the genes that now are producing the IgG, which is your first immune defense to keep you healthy, right? It's turning off the genes that are creating the stress hormones and turning on genes that are helping you stay healthy. So they're also finding pain reduces, physical pain, right? And so then you've got the emotional stress that's lowering, physical pain lowers, trauma is lowered. So in this case, when you're talking about toxic relationships, the first part you're looking at is, what is your reaction, or what is my reaction to the other person when it's all love or all the opposite, right? So how do I react when that person interacts with me in the way that I might be saying is always, right? Or anything in between. So then what I get to do is I get to manage my emotions and my reactions so that I'm calmer and I don't react with either pain or yelling or hiding, whichever your reaction is, and then you stay in a calmer state of being, right? Now you're in a better place, right? So if you're not as reactive to their reaction, then you've already come to a completely different place, right? And then you can look at your patterns when that person's not around. You can release the trauma that's related to your interaction with that person, so that becomes something that's not your pattern. So that's why I was talking about, well, you're falling in love with yourself and loving yourself. And so doing these techniques is loving yourself enough so that you really have love for yourself, and you're calm and you're relaxed and you're centered and you feel, you're moving towards unconditional love with yourself. And then the
Yeah.
things around you shift.
Mm-hmm. And, you don't have to, just to be really clear, let's remind people that you don't have to have a big trauma.
No.
You don't have to have something awful going on. You could actually be in a neutral state and say, I think I'll just do this to improve my health or improve my well-being.
Absolutely.
So it's
Yes.
really important for us all to remember that, self-care is about just saying, I would like to be a little more healthy. I would like to be a little more cognizant and conscious of what I'm thinking about or how I'm thinking about things or what thoughts I'm dwelling on. And we can do that without having to say, oh, there's something awful going on and I've got to overcome it. We can actually quite purposefully move in a positive direction and enhance our health, because there are all kinds of irritants in the world, not just other humans, but all kinds.
Yes.
And so we want to be increasing our ability to have our immune system work well
Yes.
for us, and we want to be reducing our anxiety on a regular basis. I liked what you said, particularly, Deborah, when you're talking about toxic relationships. It starts with you being who you want to be and you being
Exactly.
how you want to be, as opposed to hoping you're going to change the other human. So this is something that you do in order to prepare yourself to have the best response, the healthiest response. So let's go to this last piece that we were going to talk about
Yes.
loving ourselves and getting ourselves prepared to be in loving relationships, because this is an option too, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And to kind of continue with what you were saying is this aspect, sometimes you trip and you get mad at yourself, like what a klutz I am, so we can do that. And I recommend to people, like, get up in the morning and do a few rounds of tapping, set your stage for the day. And then you can tap at the end of the day as well, of the things that went right and the things you felt didn't go right. And you're releasing the emotional charge. This is fabulous for kids. Before they go to bed, you release whatever bothered them. And of course for us as well, it goes for everything. And then by doing those things, by doing the self-care on a regular basis, basically what you're doing is you are falling in love with yourself. You're starting to find the parts of you that you really love, instead of focusing just on the parts you don't like about yourself. And so you're releasing those, and then you're finding the things that you love about yourself. And even if you don't love yourself, because most of us don't look in the mirror and go, I love you every day. We've been taught other things.
Not yet.
Not yet, but we're going there. We're getting there. And it feels really good to then you're moving into your heart. You're moving into your heart space. And you're starting to create gratitude and appreciation for all the little things that you do that you like about yourself, or that you feel about yourself, or you look about yourself, or the things that you do for others. And that starts creating another domino effect. So you can fall in the domino effect to the negative, or you can fall in the domino effect to the positive. And so I think this is a wonderful time, even though it's a stressful time, to truly start releasing the things that you think and say and your behaviors that show that you aren't loving yourself. And then that self-care really starts creating a healthy body, a healthy mind, healthy emotions, and then all your interactions become better because you are feeling love. And love is one of the most healing vibrations that there is in the world, for your body physically as well as your body emotionally and spiritually. So I always recommend, if you need to, write down all the negative things you say about yourself, and every time you catch it, go, oh, no, I'm going to switch that to something else. And, oh, here's all the negative feelings that I have. You can write them down. So you pay attention, so you become aware of it, because then you can start changing it. Gratitude journals are great. You might go, oh, my kids are driving me crazy, my partner's driving me crazy, or whatever. But then you can go, I have a house, I have food, and you start looking for all the things that you're grateful for in the midst of all this craziness. And then connecting with others and connecting from our heart makes a beautiful, beautiful life.
Yes. So
Yes.
Exciting things that you can do for yourself, ways that you can learn. Now you can get a hold of Deborah right there at deborahmiller.org if you see things and hear things that say, I want to know more about that. And she's going to be on Save Your Sanity podcast really soon, in about 3 weeks. So go on over to saveyoursanitypodcast.com and subscribe so you'll know when she is my guest over there. And we have an in-depth discussion about things. And as usual, if you want to get in touch with me, you'll find me at forrelationshiphelp.com. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and expertise with us, Deborah.
No, it's such a pleasure. And I really, truly want everyone to feel love for themselves. What a
Me
gift.
too. Me too. And we can all give ourselves that gift, even if it has to start in little ways that don't feel exactly authentic. You can start to turn around and say,
Absolutely.
there is a piece that I do like about myself, and I'll start there. So much more to learn. Lots for you. 150 episodes of Save Your Sanity podcast. Go on over there and enjoy those in the meantime. I'm Dr. Rhoberta Shaler. Thank you for being with us. And remember, you're precious, so take very good care of yourself. Talk soon.